The angle. Joining us now from Washington are two House members who have seen these classified documents, Raul of Idaho and Andy Biggs of Arizona. We're also joined by Fox News contributor Byron York, who has been extensively covering the Russia probe and this dossier issue. Gentlemen, it's great to see you tonight. Congressman Labrador, I want to start with you. I started getting calls. I'm here on the West Coast, but I started getting calls about this at about, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning Pacific time by congressmen who started to read this report. And they didn't reveal anything they weren't supposed to, but they said, Laura, whatever you do, the people have to know what is in this. This has to get declassified. Tell us how we can declassify it and whatever you can tell us about what's inside.
Great, Laura. Thanks for having me on your show. This is so important. And it's important for your viewers to know that the House has the authority to release this information. We don't have to declassify it. House Rule 10, and this is something that I think we're going to talk about a lot over the next few weeks. House Rule 10 allows the Select Committee to release the information based on the public interest. If they believe that the information is important enough to the public, that is of vital importance to the public, they can release it. So all we need to do is have a vote from the House, and the House Select Committee can do that. And I think we need to do that immediately. In the next week or so, I believe that the American people need to see everything that is in this document. I cannot tell you, Congressman Biggs can't tell you either about what we read today, but people will be shocked when they see this information.
Congressman Biggs, before we get to Byron, and we are going to hit on this immigration debate and the government shutdown and the Labrador's legislation, all that with Byron and you guys, but on this issue of the release of this report, is there any national security concern about releasing this document that you can see? Now, you've read it. Anything
Laura,
that Paul Ryan could point to? A move to declassify, or a bureaucratic administrative move to release its contents?
I don't think so. I saw nothing in there that releasing it to the public would have any negative effect on our national interest. In fact, I think it's just the opposite. I think the national interest is harmed by keeping it a secret from the public. I think we have to be transparent. We have to get this out there. It is so vital, so important. And I think Americans are going to be as outraged as I know Raul and I are, and many of my colleagues who've read this. It has to get out, and I don't believe you can hide behind the shield of national security interest because the problem is just flipped on its head. And you'll notice it was Democrats in that committee that don't want it released. Not one voted to release it. Yeah.
All right, Byron, I want to go to you on this. I heard, again, 4 people, congressmen, this morning. And people very high up in the Justice Department and the FBI could very well lose their jobs if this report goes public. Do you believe that, given what we've heard from Glenn Simpson, who's the head of Fusion GPS, he said he's trying to like poo-poo the idea that, they really moved on the dossier with the, with the old administration. How explosive could this be?
Well, it could be pretty darned explosive. You and I are the two people here who haven't actually seen the document, but we've been hearing about this for quite a long while. What's been interesting is the investigators in the House have been kind of in a box for months. They were learning things of great public interest, but it was classified and they couldn't tell the public. And the institution that had the authority to declassify it, the Justice Department, was the institution they were investigating. I mean, it was just kind of a trap, and I think what we saw today was a kind of a brilliant effort to bust out of that, which was to use a maneuver to create a summary of their work and allow all members of the House to see it. So it wasn't just a small group of 13 people on the Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee. All of a sudden it was anybody in the House could go down and take a look at this, and we've been hearing them coming out and saying, wow, this is really, really big. And that is increasing the momentum to try this parliamentary maneuver that Representative Labrador and others have been talking about.
And they also, at the same time, I guess, Congressman Labrador, the Democrats were okay with releasing the Glenn Simpson testimony, yes. Correct? They were okay with that. We're going to play a snippet of that for our viewers. It's important for them to see what the founder of that Fusion GPS said. Let's watch. Oh, we don't. Oh, sorry, it's a full screen. Sorry about that, guys. He was asked, did the FBI ever reach out to you or Fusion GPS in relation to the matters that Mr. Steele informed them upon? He said no. You've never heard from anyone inside the U.S. government in relation to those matters, either the FBI or the Department of Justice? Answer, well, after the election, during the election, no. Well, what did you hear after, and from whom and when? I was asked to provide some information to the Justice Department. Question, by whom and when? It was by a prosecutor named Bruce Orr who was following up. Did Mr. Orr reach out to you? Or how did that shake out? Yeah, so in other words, Nellie Orr, who works for Fusion GPS, Bruce Orr ended up being the source of the questions about that dossier. Congressman Labrador, your reaction to that?
Well, I can't speak about the specific facts because I saw this memo today. I have to be very careful of what I say about the facts that happen here. But what's interesting is that this morning the Democrats decided to vote against releasing this memo. That's number one. Number two, when in the room, and I've heard from other members of Congress, when they were in the room, there were no Democrats who actually came down to look at this memo. So they were so interested in the Russia collusion story until their Russia collusion story actually started unraveling. So now that we have some information that is being provided to every member of the House, they are unwilling to release it or to even look at it. I think what the American people will find is that they're going to be shocked by this memo. I invite everybody to use the hashtag #ReleaseTheMemo. I hope all of your viewers start with the Release the Memo because we need to push our House leadership to do this. And I believe that they want to do this. I hope that they do and that they stand with the American people and the
Congressman Biggs, we're way out of time. We could do an hour on this. Are people going to lose their jobs when this is going to get released? Are people going to lose their jobs?
It probably ought to. Probably ought to. Let's just say I'm shocked that some have it already.
All right, gentlemen, fascinating. We didn't even have time to get into the immigration bill of Labrador that the President supports and the White House supports, but we really appreciate the analysis.